Okay, welcome back to the Amato Report. As we know, and it's an area we discuss heavily on this show, the mainstream media is out of line with the values of the American public. But just as importantly, perhaps more importantly, the mainstream media tries to uh, make us believe a certain narrative. They create a narrative for segments of our population to believe, which aren't necessarily correct, and in fact ends up polarizing us and causing dissension. My next guest is the author of the book, The Rise of Liberty, Loving Latino, a New American Revolution. He is also executive director of the Conservative Hispanic Society. Many of you know him as the host on Newsmax TV. He's someone I interviewed in the past, back in the day at One American News. Let's welcome, first time here on the Amato Report, Chris Salcedo. Chris, good to see you.
Rick, it's good to see you, man. Thanks for the invite. I really appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you being with us. Um, yeah, the mainstream media says that basically that the Latino population is woke, and if you're if you're not woke, you're out of touch with the Latino population. And you're saying it's another mainstream media lie.
It is. It is. CNN, MSNBS, all of them. They have invested millions of dollars in decades trying to convince everybody that, hey, if it's Latino, it must be liberal. If it's Black, it must be Marxist. And it's not true. And part of the reason why I wrote the book, The Rise of the Liberty-Loving Latino, A New American Revolution, is because basically my whole show has been about this. When I got out of news and into opinion, the Liberty-Loving Latino was my moniker. So I wanted to, in the realm of the 2024 election, I wanted to explain how everything I've been talking about for decades now has finally come to fruition and come true. And that's the baseline for the entire book.
And give us an example or two of what you've been talking about for decades, which has now come true.
Well, for example, let's look at what happened in this last election. The majority of Latino males voted for President Trump. They voted for the America First coalition. A record number of Democrats became Republicans in the Latino community. Why? Because the Democrats have gone back guano crazy. So I have always been saying, and I'm not the only one, Dr. Michael Savage was one of the first ones talking about this, and how the Latino community, because of our foundations, where we come from, tend to be more aligned with the conservative side of the ledger. Notice I didn't say Republican, the conservative side of the ledger than on the left-wing side of the ledger, by virtue of the fact that many of the countries that my ancestors and other Latinos' ancestors fled from, the ideological equivalents of the Democrats have already taken over, and that's why they had to flee. So, yeah, so that's precisely what we kind of lay out in the book, and why I think a lot of Hispanics, in particular in the great state, my new home state of Texas, why they found the America First coalition.
Would it be fair to say also, Chris, that a lot of Hispanics are conservative because of Christianity?
I would say that a lot of them are grounded in the faith, and I actually make the case in the book that it was these cultural issues that opened the door for Latinos to go, okay, the Democrats are back guano crazy. Let me go hear what the America First coalition and President Trump has to say. So that's what allowed them to actually look at Trump, because what were the Democrats saying? Little Johnny can be little Susie can be little Johnny. The best woman for the job is a man in women's sports, and that men can have babies. And Latinos, so no. I'll tell you one other thing, Rick. The term Latinx that was being crammed down the Latino community's throat. This is, folks, the LGBTQ ABCDFG cultural Marxist agenda that they were trying to impose on the Spanish language. And for those of you who spend any time around, Hispanics, kind of think that the Spanish language is beautiful. And the Democrats said, well, we know, because we've taken first year Spanish, that there are masculine and feminine words in the Spanish language, and that doesn't fit with our.
Oh my God. Is that why it became Latinx?
Well, that's why they insisted we use the term, not Latino or Latina, while they said we had to use Latinx, and 90% of Latinos said, whether you're Democrat or Republican, didn't matter, conservative, liberal, didn't matter. They said, no way, you're out of your mind. Because the Democrats said you have to bastardize your language to appeal to our political need for a wedge issue. And we said, a lot of Latinos said, no.
I never knew that.
Yep.
It's insane.
That's the Democrat Party. Yes. Insane.
Chris, we see the whole ICE issue taking place right now.
Yes.
And here's my take. I'm a big supporter on cracking down on the borders and bringing ICE in when there's crime involved. Okay. And when I say crime, I mean when criminal elements are coming across the border, as they have. I would like to see this president, when he and his staff, not just him, but specifically he and his staff, when they articulate the need for ICE, I would like to see them make a strong distinction on the criminal element coming across the border. Not that anyone should cross illegally, but I got a soft spot for that person who's living in poverty in a third world nation and trying to bring goods back to his family back home. What's your take on how this is being played out?
Probably a little more absolute than that, Rick. Look, I as your liberty loving Latino, I can attest that no illegal alien has the right to be in my country. None. Zero. Nada. There is no legal predicate for an illegal alien to be in the United States. And where I, like you, can sympathize with individuals who are in their countries ruined by the ideological left, I can sympathize with that. It doesn't mean that I have to sacrifice my country and my countrymen to facilitate that. And I have a zero tolerance policy. I do not believe in illegal immigration. I believe illegal immigration is wrong. Illegal immigration is immoral, and illegal immigration is bad for any nation forced to endure it by its political class. And everybody within the sound of my voice, Rick, needs to know that the Republican Party and the Democrat Party have colluded for the better part of a half century to impose illegal immigration on this country against the will of the majority of this country. None of us want it. There's no majority in America that want it, but there's a majority of Washington that does. And that's why we are forced to deal with all the ramifications. You think Senator John Cornyn or any of the senators from California, Mr. Padilla, that they have to deal with the ramifications of open border policies, the crime, the absolute heartbreak when you find out that you've got your schools being inundated, your hospitals being inundated and overrun, and all of the when the piper comes due, when you got to pay the piper, whole families being ripped apart because nothing ever good comes of a country that breaks its own laws. And that's exactly what happens with illegal immigration.
And that leads me to my next question. Earlier we talked about how the Hispanic population has conservative values.
Yes.
How is their political outlook, as a general statement, being affected by what's happening in the news today with how all the mainstream media is reporting on the ICE crackdowns?
Well, first off, the mainstream biased press is painting the worst possible picture they can. Many of them are lying about what's going on. There's lots of propaganda online. Right. I was just talking with the producer of on my podcast, one of my co-hosts on the podcast, I should say. And, he was upset about a video he saw online that was likely a fake that showed, ICE agents rolling up and arresting groundskeepers or inquiring to groundskeepers, hey, are you in the country legally? That is not going on. Tom Homan is prioritizing deportation of criminal illegal aliens first. But I think that the biased press and social media are doing an effective job of making that Latino coalition kind of question what's really going on, because there's a lot of lies and a lot of propaganda out there. And I would just point again, the rule of law says that we should not have illegal immigration in this country, and we're a nation of laws, and that's the reason why we were so stable. The reason why we have both political parties colluding on illegal immigration is because they're too fat and lazy to do real work for a living and reform legal immigration. I say, let's put some of this technology, some of this AI technology to work, and let's come up with a legal form of immigration that allows individuals to come in here fully vetted, do what they need to do, maybe go back to their home country, or if they have something to contribute to this country and not be a detriment or a draw on public services, to actually contribute, meritocracy is what I'm talking about, then by God, let's get them in here. But this idea of saying, well, we're too lazy to do any real work in Congress, so we're just going to allow rampant, uncontrolled illegal immigration, completely wrong. And you've seen the devastation in places in my state of Texas and in California because of that mindset.
So, as you said, Trump won the Hispanic male vote in the most recent election. If that election were held today, do you think he would still win that vote given the propaganda being put out by the mainstream media?
I think it would be a different ball game because right now President Trump isn't campaigning, he's governing, and he's not going to be standing for election again. He's doing what needs to be done. I think there would be a lot more, and give Tom Homan a lot of credit. Every single time one of these fake news pieces comes out about that illegal alien that was abducted, or not abducted, but arrested in Chicago, she jumped into a daycare center right away. Tom Homan and DHS was correcting the record after a whole bunch of Democrats said, "Oh, ICE busted into a daycare center and took an illegal alien teacher into custody." That's not what happened. And ICE is doing a very good job. DHS is doing a very good job of separating propaganda, left-wing propaganda, to excuse criminal illegal aliens in this country, and what's really going on with ICE and its priorities.
If you had to pull out your crystal ball, Chris, let's say J.D. Vance runs for president in 2028. I know it's early, but based on where we are today, do you believe that, where do you believe that Hispanic vote will go in 2028?
Like I said, there is so much real estate between now and 2028's election cycle. There's a lot that can happen. If we were judging it today, I think that J.D. Vance would have his work cut out for him to cut through ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, MSNBS, and all the propaganda. Not that he couldn't do it, but it would be a much more difficult campaign to remind the American people, like the people of Texas, all of those border communities that were overrun by massive waves of humanity. And the Democrats were coming on my show saying, we're calling up Joe Biden, telling him to stop. He's ruining our communities. Stop it. And the Democrats wouldn't even take the other Democrats in Texas's call. You know what happened to all those counties? They flipped red. So It would be up to J.D. Vance to remind everybody, remember what the Democrats did to you. Opened up the borders, millions of unvetted criminal illegal aliens flooding into this country, the narco terrorists taking over parts of our border and militarizing our border. Let's remember what it was like under Democrats. And I think that once the American people took a trip down memory lane as to just how bad it was, Americans would decide not to want to go back. Latinos wouldn't want to go back.
I think it's a very good observation, Chris. I got to ask you before we go, what's your take on Mondami being elected to the largest financial capital city in the world?
Yeah, it is crazy. And I think, not just Mondani, but also what happened in Virginia, what happened in New Jersey. And not so much in New Jersey, but New York and in Virginia, the Republicans ran away from the America First coalition. They didn't want to embrace Trump. And look what happened. The Republican Party without the America First coalition couldn't beat a Marxist who was promising to confiscate 52% of people's income in New York. They couldn't beat that. They couldn't beat a Democrat in Virginia for Attorney General who wished death upon his political opponents and their children.
Crazy.
The Republican Party couldn't beat that because the Republican Party without the America First coalition, without a direction, is a meaningless, soulless party that basically looks for the nearest Democrat butt cheek on which to firmly plant their lips. That's what the Republican Party was. Praise God, we never go back.
Good. Again, Chris, great observation. All right, the book is called The Rise of the Liberty-Loving Latino, A New American Revolution. Where can our viewers purchase your book, Chris?
Right now, you can go to Amazon. It's on pre-order. It drops on December 9th. Perfect gift for anybody in your life who's a liberty lover. And you can save yourself a couple of bucks by getting it on pre-order right now. So why not? Just make my publisher happy. Every single time somebody clicks, my publisher pops the champagne. So it's all real good. Okay. So we'd appreciate that. And yeah, that's where you can go. Amazon, The Rise of the Liberty-Loving Latino, A New American Revolution. Rick, it is the greatest political upheaval to hit this country since the formation of the Republican Party. Absolutely.
Wow. And our viewers can watch you on Newsmax TV. So anything you'd like to add about the Newsmax show?
Oh, yeah. 5 o'clock Eastern. Tune in there. You can listen to the radio show. You can listen to the podcast. Just go to chrissalcedo.com and you can find all that info there.
All right. Chris Salcedo, good to have you with us. Good to catch up with you. And look forward to talking to you again.
Rick, very personal thing here, this book. It bears my moniker. So appreciate the invite, sir. Thank you.
You bet. Back with more of the Amato Report after this.